Hello and welcome to the Easy Allies podcast. I am your moderator, Brandon Jones. Joining me this week, panelists Ian Hink.
What's up?
Michael Huber.
What's up?
My quick resuming co-moderator, Mr. Daniel Bloodworth.
What's up?
What else did you? This is good. This is a good build. We haven't had many, since I took over the podcast, we haven't had many of those. Like a good string.
Yeah.
I remember I used to harass Boston with those all the time. What you chuckled at something, Ian, when we started.
I was just, you started while I was making some dumb face, so I leaned into it.
Boom!
Okay.
Made me laugh.
Distinguished guests, we are here to discuss some of the biggest headlines in the world of video games. But before we do that, we have to answer for all of the mistakes we made last week. Daniel Bloodworth, please begin corrections music. Boop. We actually don't have any corrections, but, which is nice, yeah.
Wow. Who are
Flawless
you?
victory.
What happened to this podcast?
I'm
Some
not sure I'll
people
leave
that were upset at things we said, but nothing I would necessarily classify as a correction. But in love and respect, we talked about the PS4 DualShock touchpad and tried to ponder things that the touchpad did. There were 4 things that I think should be mentioned. One of them I'm ashamed that we didn't mention. In Final Fantasy XIV, the touchpad functions as a full PC trackpad. It also has other utilities like turning off the UI and shifting tabs to make an MMO way better on console. Dragon's Crown uses the touchpad to mimic the functionality of the PlayStation Vita. One comment said they use the touchpad with Steam for all sorts of custom control features. And several comments, including Wes Bates on Patreon, using his $5 love and respect chance to let us know. Hubert, Last of Us Part 2, any memorable touchpad features? Last of Us Part 2? Anything?
Guitar.
There you go.
The guitar. The guitar.
Just months ago. They had,
Yes.
some of
Feels
the,
like
the
years
final
ago.
slam dunk. I know. I completely forgot.
That
You're
does feel like years ago.
right. End corrections music, please.
Oh, I love it.
Before we get... I love it too. Before we get into talking about next gen for the last time that we can, really, because all of you, we're all going to be on the same
Never gonna talk about
the
it
same
again
emotional
after this.
plane next week, and it's just going to be
current gen.
gaming. It's going to be gen. It's going to be gaming. It's going to be...
Yeah.
We're a gaming podcast. We'll talk about games. We'll be
Right,
in the
it will
gen.
be current.
I want to try to find a silver lining, something we can look forward to this week, something that was good news for a sect of the gaming community. Matthias wants us to know, more and more older fighting games are getting patched with rollback netcode for online play in the wake of the pandemic and the absence of local fighting game events. Rollback, for those that don't know, is the superior kind of netcode which provides a vastly improved gaming experience. EVO Online only allows games with rollback on the roster. The latest one to receive this is Guilty Gear Accent Core Plus R. Due to this and the game being $3 on Steam, the game even overtook the current version, Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2. Xrd. In number of active players on Steam. Whew. Great to see fighting game devs adopting this kind of netcode and breathing new life into older games. Yay.
Jolly.
Nice.
Yeah, new life into older games. The
beautiful.
best trend.
It is a good trend of Xbox, which we will be immediately rolling into, because it's time to talk about next gen. I want to do, finally, I want to do a next gen report card for the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. We can't do a next gen report card for the Xbox Series S because we don't have one. We were given an Xbox Series X and 2 PlayStation 5s. So
Count them.
there's that. And one of those PlayStation 5s is in the possession of Brad Ellis. The other 2 are in the studio. We've been going into the studio. They're right there. I haven't played the Xbox Series X. I have smelled it. I have touched it. I have sat in a room with it for an extended periods of time.
Smelled it.
But
Did you actually smell it?
Of course I did. It's a presence, you know. This is a thing that we're
Yeah.
going to be living with. The Xbox Series X molecules were inside of my nose. You know, I was living it. I was breathing it. Huber, you've been playing it though. You are currently reviewing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You were playing it on Xbox Series X.
He's playing on
Yes.
every Xbox.
He's playing
Every
it.
Xbox. I'm playing on the family of Xboxes, Jones.
take us through
I am
this.
fully embracing Microsoft's philosophy, the Xbox family of consoles. So I have been sampling this game across all the hardware.
I guess not S. That's true.
Not S, yeah, not
No.
S. Quick shout
or
out to
360. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Right.
The current
quick shout
run.
out to the Smart Delivery. Quick
Yeah.
shout out to Smart Delivery, because this is something that I dismissed. Like, it was just some kind of buzzword. I wasn't really taking it seriously. I just thought it was like PR nonsense. I was like, oh, you just get the best version of the game on the console. That's normal. You just download whatever. But in swapping my playthrough amidst all three consoles, just quickly logging off one, logging into the other, it has all your progress saved, your settings, everything is good to go. Just really, really convenient. And that's the thing I've noticed the most with next gen is convenience. Like, things you can't really predict or know until you just get your hands in there and get your hands on it. Like fast travel and stuff, things like that, load times. It just completely transforms the way you play and engage with the game. It's like if something is, kind of far over there on older tech, it's like, well, I don't want to like fast travel there because then you have to reload everything, so I'm just gonna run over or get on a horse and get over there.
Yeah,
but
that's the worst, is like when fast traveling feels like it takes longer than just actually going there.
Yes, and now with
Deadly Premonition 2.
yeah, now with these new consoles, it's just like fast load, boom, quick load there, boom, I'm there, do this, get this. Just everything is faster and snappier. It's awesome.
Blood, we've been doing lots of unboxings, talking about impressions of games, talking about impressions of the hardware. So one thing that, we've been talking about, and you mentioned earlier, was the quick resume was a huge deal on Xbox. It's something that a lot of people have been talking about. And just like with Huber saying that load times are getting shorter, it's interesting to play games that are cross-gen and try to figure out how some of these systems might impact game development, things where people realize, well, if my game's only coming out on Xbox and people are quick resuming along with other things, might I want to change how the opening of my game is, how my game actually, you jump into the experience because you're not going to have that traditional experience anymore.
Yeah. Because that's one of the things that, like, testing out, like, load times and stuff, like, it became, like, a very clear theme to me, like, bouncing between 6 or 7 different games to test quick resume, just realizing just like how much time you cut off from the traditional, okay, boot the game, here's a big screen full of copyright information, here's this developer, here's the Dolby logo, here's that thing, and it just like you waste minutes on some games with this stuff. And then with quick resume, it's just like, pop, 8 seconds, I'm playing Red Dead. 8 seconds, I'm playing Doom Eternal. 8 seconds, I'm playing Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. 8 more seconds, I'm playing Sea of Thieves. It's a cool thing that they're doing. And Huber, I feel like since you tend to have your hand in a bunch of different pots on games, I'm curious, like, what games you might quick resume, like, if it was just, like, available to you.
I mean, the obvious would be some multiplayer game, have Fortnite or Call of Duty just running in the background, because a lot of those games, like a lot of the barriers with playing with friends is syncing up time. And if you can just have that on in the background, I'm ready, quick match, boom, let's go. And you're in it. Like all of these little things that I've just been kind of writing off, like, loading, whatever, it just takes a minute, be patient. It's like, no, I was ignorant to the ways of the fast loads. It is just with my brief hands-on time, like it has opened my eyes, and I'm ready to embrace the future.
But that's the thing I'm curious about, though, because you mentioned Sea of Thieves or Fortnite, stuff like Destiny and that, where it's like Fortnite especially, it seems like a decent chunk of that load is getting online, matchmaking, that kind of stuff. So I do wonder how, and I mean, maybe you have experience with this with Sea of Thieves or something, but like I do wonder how that functions with a multiplayer online server-based game, because like Sea of Thieves, you can quick launch into, until you're blue in the face, but it still has to like start you on a server on its end,
Yeah.
And like it's not going to let you just jump in.
Yeah, it's something that I haven't gotten to try in that regards yet,
Yeah.
So I am very, very curious about
I
how that might work, like what it does, like on the server end. Like, I would expect, that it would essentially treat it like, a normal disconnect, right? Like you would just go back to whatever menu. Lobby screen is.
I think you kick back to the lobby probably,
Yeah.
but you'll still bypass the initial
boot up
load
and all that.
boot up load. So I mean, it'll still be a time saver, but
the other thing.
It
The
won't
other
be
thing that
magic.
wasted a lot of time is when I started Gears 5, it's one of those games where like they add a lot to it, and so like, look, here's these new skins and here's this event happening, and like you just have to
Oh.
like get through all of these screens before you can even, like, I'm just playing the campaign right now, guys. And so I wonder how some of that stuff might be handled, and even just stuff like the game updating. It's like, if the game updates, does that override your quick resume, and like, okay, you've got to close it out and restart it, and how those
Yeah.
things will play out in the long run.
But it's not something that, they're going to roll out. It's something that's working now. Makes me a little nervous, Ian, when we talk about shaving off, 30 seconds, a minute, 30 seconds off potential load times. I think I got to make that minute 30 seconds work. I gotta produce in that minute 30. If all of these
don't-
engineers work so hard to give me that time back, what am I really doing with that time?
Jones, like,
Don't be like me, Jones.
I've played a bit of Watch Dogs on just PS4 Pro, and then obviously playing on Assassin's Creed on everything, and it's just like those games load a lot. You're loading missions, you're going into interiors or instances, whatever you want to call them. You're fast traveling, and over the course of like a 5-hour gaming session, like, that is so much time. Like, I'm thinking of Watch Dogs, just like, you can swap characters pretty fast, but I can just imagine that on next gen, just instantly switching to a character,
Yeah.
instantly loading here, just how fast that
the one I'm-
is.
The one I'm looking forward to, and I think the devs or somebody, I heard somebody say this in a interview or video or something about Demon Souls, but like, they said that they thought a lot of the frustration and like the image of the game being super hard comes from the frustration of every time you die you had to load for a minute, and like it's gonna change the nature of so many difficult games like that, where it's like you die, you're right back, you die, you're just back in it, and it's just gonna make that flow feel so much better, and the gameplay loop. Like, every game is going to become a one more turn.
Right.
Style
like Super Meat
game,
Boy,
you know?
right? Where it's just
Right.
instant.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
retry? Okay, retry.
When you guys are in the zone, you're playing some, like, say an open world game or something, some huge game, you're playing, and then you hit a load. Does your mind kind of go out of it for a second? It's like, all right, loading. Think about something else. So I just imagine with less loading, you're just like even more focused on the game. Like with a game with a lot of loading, like Assassin's Creed or Watch Dogs or something, sometimes
depends.
just you keep loading and it's like, think about something else.
For
All
me,
right,
it
back to
depends
it.
on the game, because like some games have interesting or funny tool tips or like
Yeah.
item descriptions.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, sometimes it's not always.
Oh, yeah,
usually
the
I get
Souls
tired.
item descriptions, man. Like,
Oh yeah,
figure out what
they're
else to
gonna
do
go
with
away.
that. Yeah.
Well, in Demon Souls, you saw like these cool character portraits and stuff. It's like, is that even gonna be in the game? But like, sometimes, not often, but sometimes I would be like, man, I hope the load doesn't stop before I'm done reading.
Yeah, let me
this
read
thing, you know?
this.
I want to read this.
Seriously.
So yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's gonna be.
I guess not really zoning out, but still, because it's loading, because there's that break. It's like, okay, I'm back in the real world now. That's, I guess, what I'm
Right.
trying to say.
Sure, yeah.
Takes you out of it.
I think consumers agree with you, Huber. I think they spoke to developers, and then developers spoke to Sony and PlayStation when they came out, or Sony and Microsoft when they came out, and to talk about what do you expect for next gen? What tools do you want? And they're like, load times is something that we really need to, if we can just do away with. And I think just everyone got that memo. Because I played Watch Dogs Legion on PC in seconds. Like, I did two things back to back in videos that I edited that I've never done in reviews before, which is I showed a continuous loading moment. Like, I show me going to the menu, clicking load, and then it. As an editor, Ian, that's dead air. It's like, do I really want to show this? Like, I know I'm making
a free paragraph.
I know I'm making a point here, but but they were so quick, that I'm like, there's 2 seconds of just a black screen in my Spider-Man review, which is a no if you're an editor. But
Well, there's two reasons to ever do that in a review: if it's really bad or if it's really good.
Right.
and we
Like, I think I remember the original Bloodborne. I just left like an entire like minute of that interview was a load screen.
but it was real time.
It was real time.
And this, so one of these was Spider-Man on the PlayStation 5. So load times are great on PS5, but it sounds like the user experience of going back and playing these games on Xbox. Imagine, Huber, if you booted up Fortnite and you were in that load zone, like Fortnite knew that. It's not only I'm going to quick resume where you were, like you've specified something or even set settings within the game that it's like, it's like you don't want to change your equipment or pick something. You want to play Fortnite. So I just... boom, I drop you right in. Maybe even in the bus. Like, oh, there you go. I queue you up immediately when you boot up the game.
Well, and that's
that could
the
be
thing.
this era. And because we are specifically talking about Xbox now, seems like what Xbox is investing in and what their one of their big focuses.
Not to jump ahead, but it's as a point of comparison between the two systems. And I've played the PS5 a little bit, but I cut both of the launch report videos, which I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to talk about right now. Okay. Whereas Xbox has this quick resume, PlayStation has those activity cards, and it's kind of an interesting take on the same general principle where it's like the quick resume is just something that you set. It's like a suspend point. You just jump back in whenever, and that's awesome. The activity cards are sort of like a developer chose to put a quick resume right here and is tracking your progress for this little chunk of the game. And I'm interested to see what games like Demon Souls or something where it is more about an exploration. Like, I don't necessarily want that in a Demon Souls. Like, I don't want to see how many souls I've collected or whatever they would track in a certain, in 3-2 or something. Though I guess because Demon Souls is a hub world, you could do it like that. But, it is an interesting philosophical difference where they're both doing a similar function, but one is you do it, and the other one is like, hey, we're going to set these checkpoints for you, but you can jump right to them in the same way.
Even just new content. It's like, how many times do we talk about something here or somebody's mentioned in Slack and we're like, what? Like, oh, that's a cool news. It's like, yeah, it was 2 months ago this happened. Or we're like, oh, I didn't know that DLC came out. I didn't know that game got ported to whatever. So it'd be neat if you're looking at games that are already downloaded onto your, PS5 or Xbox Series X and, maybe have something around there. It's like, oh, that let me know. Just glancing at it, without actually digging into that specific game space. Blood, I'm hearing a lot of games are surprising people by not doing quick resume. And it's one of those fun developer things that I have absolutely no idea why they would have a problem. But does it seem like something that you would say for everybody to do, whatever issues you're having technically, solve those immediately? Or do you see some people opting out of this?
Do you mean on the Xbox? I just want to get context for what you heard so I can try to...
Quick resume does not work with every single Xbox Series X game.
Okay. So there is a system level bug right now that is being addressed that affects that. So basically, it's something that they've really just only caught up on recently, and so I don't expect that to be a long-term issue. I think that most games are going to have quick resume all the time, but it does make me curious if a game does come out and there could potentially be issues with that, or if that's just going to be something that gets handled in cert. So I think that there is a chance that a game will come out and one of the things that isn't addressed in the initial day one functionality is like, oh, quick resume isn't working. We'll get it in a patch in 2 weeks.
Right.
But I don't think, as far as I can tell, I don't think it's something that people will just opt out of. That's not the issue. It's just, right now we're just in that pre-zone of this stuff is almost finished being cooked and there's a couple of ingredients that, they didn't put enough salt in or whatever. Just dumb analogy.
It is interesting though with both of these systems, there is a lot larger, certainly with the PS5, but for both of them to an extent, there seems to be a lot more interplay between the console's operating system and the games themselves, inter-game kind of stuff, especially on the PS5 with you can globally set difficulties when available for all games or whatever. But quick resume and these kinds of functions really do seem to have to talk to the system a lot more than maybe we're used to in the past. And I worry to an extent what crazy bugs this is going to introduce.
Right.
That unforeseen consequences when we're at scale. I hope this doesn't brick people's games or like erase saves.
It's
or
the next
you know?
gen version of Always Online. It's like
Right.
PS5 aware. It's like
Yeah.
go away, PS5.
But it is. It's like tracking everything.
I mean, it is a fair point. Ian,
Astrobot
because,
keeps coming in. What are you doing?
Was it? I don't remember whether it was Need for Speed Payback. There was one game that I reviewed, and I think you might have cut the review of. That was a racing game, and using the suspend function on the Xbox One created all kinds of crazy bugs.
I remember this.
Like and I just remember driving around and like being like driving through cars and stuff like that, and just everything like being totally out of whack. And it was because like the game just didn't handle being suspended on Xbox One very well. And so there were just games that I just learned to like, oh, okay, I've got to reboot this every time. Otherwise it's just not going to work. I think
so, like,
Quick Resume is more stable than that, but you're right.
Yeah.
There could be, potential issues that we start to see on specific games that aren't well optimized for it.
Well, and what is going to be the first like hilarious or treacherous quick resume bug that we will see, and why will it be Cyberpunk?
Yeah. You just loaded
Can you
someone
imagine?
else's save file.
Like, what was that, Jones? What was the game? Was it Grand Theft Auto 5 where like
It was a scarring memory, yes, if you want me to revisit that.
relive this
Thug.
memory for us, please?
I booted up my game one day. I had the head of a different person.
Oh,
a
right.
different bald person, and my
Yeah.
level
Oh,
was
Franken
1. My
Thug.
character was gone. I had the same name. I think I had some of the items still, but I had like no money or so. It was
So weird.
had to reboot that. So made
That kind of stuff.
made a slightly possibly offensive video where I like drove the character around and then like put a gun to its head at the end of the video. I was so mad.
It seems, but like you said,
Rockstar lost a
Bloodworth,
fan that day, I'll tell you.
Yeah, you've been really mad at them ever since. But like you said, Bloodworth, quick resume. It seems like you'd almost have to go out of your way to make it problematic because, like, I mean, I'm not going to pretend I understand the functionality, entirely, but like, it seems like it's just kind of like saving some kind of game state file, something that must not require power because you said that you've unplugged the system and moved it and then turned it back on and your quick resume is still there. So to me, that means it's just like saving a local.
Yeah, it's saving a file.
Directory.
You can actually go in and see how much file size the Quick Resume is taking up on.
Oh,
per game.
really?
Yeah.
Dude.
That's really cool. Yeah, I love that. And that's such a smart way to do it that you don't have to. Because, like, yeah, with a PlayStation 5 or 4, like, suspend mode is just like rest, but
yeah.
it needs to be on because it's keeping the game going, It's using some power, but this is just like a save file.
And that might
it's
actually make it more
interesting.
stable in a way.
Oh, it's absolutely more stable.
yeah.
Cause that's what I'm saying is like I think it's unlikely to cause issues in that way because it's not simulating anything. It's not. I don't even think probably adjusting the game. I mean, the risk you might run is that it might just like, if the game updates, and then you quick resume. I'm certain that they've thought of that. Like perhaps your quick resume has to like reload the game because like if they
Or
patch
you haven't
something.
like actually like saved in the game somehow, and so
Right,
you lose some
right.
amount of progress. Yeah.
Right. I mean that would be a worry that like if they update the game a bunch and your quick resume doesn't count anymore.
Right.
But yeah.
I'm curious to. Well, actually, I'm not curious. What am I trying to say? One of the things that I noticed is that like one time when I went back to a game, it was like a lot faster than the others, and I think maybe what happened was I was going just from the menu and I didn't have another game open essentially, and so I think that like essentially like half of your quick resume time is putting
Closing
game
it out.
A into
Yeah.
quick resume, and then the other half is putting opening game B up.
Which
and
makes
so-
sense. I mean,
yeah.
it's yeah.
'Cause there
Still
was-
really fast. Like I left. Speaking of leaving things in a video in real time, I left when you were talking about quick resume. I left the footage as was and just let you go from like 3 or 4 games in real time, and it seemed very quick, like 4 to 10 seconds. You said something like that.
Yeah, so that's what I mean though. So like generally it was like 6 or 8 second range. A couple took 10 seconds, but then there was that one time where it was like that was just 4 seconds, and I think it's because I didn't
was
have
the
to close
first
a
one.
game first. So
That makes sense.
yeah,
Convenience and speed, Huber. That is the hallmarks of this gen. We are already
Yes.
feeling it. You know what I've also been talking about this
so
year,
nice.
Hubert, that like I've never really talked about before. Maybe when I was playing World of Warcraft, that was something that was actually like in my mind. File sizes are a thing.
Yeah.
People are talking about them. They are talking about lessening file sizes. People are literally figuring out what other games they can play other than Call of Duty on their Xbox Series S with only 364 gigs of storage space at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's not
rough.
advertised. That's literally just what's on there when you actually like boot the sucker up. Have you been thinking about file sizes? How important is it to you to cram a bunch of stuff on here?
It is a thing. I've never really run into issues with space. I'm really good about just like downloading a game, finishing the game, deleting the game, moving on. So I never really run into that, but I know it's a thing, especially with you were saying the Call of Duty situation. Like if you only have 300 something gigs left after this one massive game, that is an issue. I know on this gen they've been trying to reduce the file size of games like Fortnite and Call of Duty. So I imagine that this is an ongoing thing that will lead into next gen and just kind of be a constant sticking point.
I, on the other hand, am sentimental and foolish, and am always riding the edge of a full hard drive. My PC has, I think, 8 hard drives, and like several of them are usually full, especially with this 4K content now. But like, yeah, I'm always like, well, I'm definitely gonna play this again. Like, I have to keep it on my thing, and then I'll just not play it for years, you know.
Right.
But it's like I feel bad about deleting it because I love it.
Part of the dopamine of finishing a game is being able to delete it too. That's definitely a factor. I love finishing a game,
I get
a
that
big
when
chunky one, and then just deleting it. You're just like, yes.
I get that when I hard quit a game, where I like super don't like a game. I'm just like, get off
Has
my
anything-
hard drive.
Hubert, has anything stayed on your Xbox this entire gen? Has anything just been on there the whole time, never moved?
Fortnite has been on my PlayStation since Battle Royale launched. Yeah, I think that's it.
I think GTA 5 and Red Dead,
Yeah.
of course. I've never deleted Red Dead. And Fortnite, probably. I can't imagine why I
Well,
would
I feel
delete
like
Fortnite.
I feel like with Game Pass in particular, it makes it really easy for you to, fill up that fridge, so to speak, because, you download Gears and like, oh yeah, this seems cool, and then like, oh, let me try Forza, oh, let me try Sea of Thieves, oh crap, you could just like kid in a candy store, just grab all of these games, and then, especially if you're just getting the Series S and that thing fills up so fast. Because you're
Yeah.
saying
That-
300 after the OS is what's left in there, 300 something.
360 something you said, Jones?
364.
Yeah,
That's just after the OS.
That's, yeah.
yeah. So that's how much you've got left to work with.
Right.
Woof.
Yeah, the big thing too is with updates. That's why Call of Duty and Fortnite were working so hard to reduce that file size, because they update constantly, and then just having to download that, install it, it
Yeah.
just takes forever.
Odyssey was a
So-
game Assassin's Creed Odyssey was a game I knew was going to bloat. I was like, okay, I'm done with the campaign. Go, get out. Because I knew I was just going to wake up the next day. I was going to have like 200 more gigs added to it. Nothing against that DLC content. No plans to play it. But Blood, it's like a lot of these file size updates are happening at random times. Like they're not like, oh, it's all going to happen on the 10th or the 12th when these consoles launch. A lot of the stuff is really affecting like PC players are really excited about it. Are devs just kind of being like, fine, we'll lessen this stuff now that next gen's happening? Why is all this happening now? To get ready for next gen? Is this something they could have done earlier and just didn't want to?
I mean, I think it's partly to get ready for next gen just because they're optimizing their games. That's something that we're seeing, I think, a lot more with both of these systems is, that they are going back to games. I mean, like, Forza Horizon 4, like, is a great example. Like, that game came out years ago, and like, here is the optimized version for Xbox Series X. Like, we want you to have this game available on day one and to see it running in 4K 60 and just, see how gorgeous this game is, and keep it going. And I haven't heard of any plans for new content or anything like that, but it's such a good looking game to begin with that it's a great showpiece, even if it is old.
Showpiece.
And so I think, we're seeing similar things with some of the PlayStation 4 games. They have that whole PlayStation Plus collection. I think it's I think both parties kind of see that this is an opportunity for people to play games that they maybe glossed over in the past. Brad was talking about Days Gone, and that game running at higher frame rates. And there's a lot of people that were probably like, oh, the game is running like garbage. I'm not going to get this on my base PS4. And they didn't get a PS4 Pro, but now PS5 is here. It's like, oh, that game runs well now. Like, I'm interested. I'll check it out.
Avengers. Every time I boot it up, Huber, my PS4 is like, what's that? What's that PS5 coming out? One more week, PS4.
No, but didn't that version get delayed, Jones?
It did,
Yeah,
but you can play the
later.
PS4 version on PS5, and it'll make it run better, or so they say.
Nice.
But we'll see.
Nice.
And we're all just waiting. It's gonna be nice. Hopefully, that'll brighten up our 2021s a little bit, just by every now and then getting a notice like, "Hey, that thing you already own, it's better." And you're like, "Oh, thanks." I was thinking about maybe going back and playing that. That's fun. Lots of people behind closed doors, working very hard to make things backwards compatible and making things run. So with the exception of file size and speed and stuff like that, backwards compatibility seems like one of the big wins, one of the big focuses, which we have talked about previously on this podcast. So I don't know if there's anything.
Which like a good thing for Series X because it doesn't have any games.
Which we will get to in a second. So I'm gonna grade these consoles on marketing, hardware, and games on each of these three things. I want to come up with a cumulative score for the entire podcast, one score, not individual. We're gonna be figuring we are the school board. It is the end of the year.
Oh my.
We are grading both of these things. But just some last minute notices that have actually come up and some questions that I have before we get into the scoring. Why did Microsoft make an Astros Playroom?
Why did they not?
That was kind of
Good
a mess up that they didn't make just something. Just something.
Banjo's Playroom. Where is it?
I mean, right. Because it's not a huge game. It's not a big. It demonstrates what this what the system can do specifically. It's like you hear about adaptive feedback. Adaptive triggers that
Well, but that's
happen.
the
You get in there and it does it.
Yeah, I haven't
That's
played.
the thing, Jones. The Series X doesn't have any like zesty next gen gimmicks like that. It
Yeah,
has the
'cause-
quick resume. It has faster load times.
Just give me the Unreal 5 demo. Just let me play that. Just something.
Right. Well, right. But like, an Astros Playroom would just be like, look how pretty and fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Like
haven't.
the OS is the same. Like the UI is exactly the same.
I haven't touched the PlayStation, but in playing the Xbox, I did pause for a moment and I was thinking like, oh, I wonder if the PS5 version has cool audio because they've been, touting their 3D audio and all that,
Right.
and the DualSense. So I just kept. I was thinking in my head like, I wonder, how much that would change my playthrough of this. Because like Ian was saying, Xbox doesn't really have those features.
Yeah, it's weird in a way. It's like the upgrades on Xbox are more quality of life type things. So you'd have to think. But you'd have to think of something that's almost along the lines of the Ratchet and Clank dimension swapping, right? Like
Right.
something like that would really show off, what the load times can mean for a game. And I don't know that we've seen that realistically yet. I mean, Spider-Man, you've got, like you said, the fast travel system.
Yeah. There's a moment.
But in terms of
Yeah.
level design,
Yeah.
I don't know that we've seen this is where
Right.
having the faster load times makes a difference.
Well,
I
and
think
that-
that's still on the way.
And I think, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, like, we're seeing the least optimized things coming out for these systems right now, right? Like, what seems like great optimization right now, a year from now, when they really have a hold on these systems, it's going to be even better. But that's the funny thing with why they didn't even come up with some kind of just pack-in kind of fun little demo that you could play is I mean, I know I say this all the time, but it goes back to kind of the philosophy of these two companies. And like, PlayStation is still doing the console generations thing. Xbox is just giving you a new computer. And like, that's really evident when I saw the UI in the launch report video and how it's almost the same as the One X. Literally this machine is just a faster one of the same thing.
It's the best Xbox.
And it's the best
It's the
Xbox.
best box.
And like, that's awesome. But it also, the fact that they don't have some whiz bang first party thing, and I know that Halo got delayed and stuff, but like, kind of accentuates that they're viewing it just as kind of an iterative
Yeah.
thing, and they're less concerned about, maybe even when you buy it.
But me gobbling up news headlines this week, just lots of people talking about all sorts of different factors and really looking for stuff that was different from what we were talking about. Like, we've checked out both of these consoles. I'm watching other people talk about the consoles.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff is being repeated. Lots of questions about the PlayStation 5. A lot of people are actually kind of curious just technically about 1440 doesn't work. Like, just a lot of stuff that we're just finding out now, and I'll get to, when we move on to the PS5. But it's definitely going to sell more. It has 3, games that really show off the system really well, which Xbox doesn't have access to a lot of games. So there's not those games that you think about. But it makes me think of Miles Morales as well. Just that this kind of Goldilocks Bears of just the small Astro Playroom experience, Spider-Man, which will take you a day or two, and then Demon Souls. You can play them in that order. Then you really dive into this thing
Well, the
after.
Sackboy game is there too. Look.
Right. Nothing
Yeah.
against Sackboy.
Yeah, Destruction All-Stars got delayed.
Right. Not as brutal of a
The
delay as
medium
Halo
getting-
Infinite.
The Medium getting delayed too. I don't even know if that was
Oh,
a
yeah,
delay.
I
I don't know if it
forgot
was a
that.
delay or if it was supposed to come
It
out
was
later.
December
but
anyway.
So I wonder
That's
if there's an IP from Microsoft that could have gotten the, too late now, but could have gotten the Miles Morales treatment.
I expected that to be Hellblade.
Hellblade,
when
yeah.
they
Right.
showed that, that's what I thought was going to be the one. It's not a perfect analog, but I thought Halo would be the Demon Souls and Hellblade would be the Miles Morales, a shorter graphical showpiece, Huber, that would show off the system. And I'm surprised, and I'm not, that it isn't out yet, because they're their own people. They're developing this game that I'm sure is going to take a long time. But when they first announced it, that was my expectation.
So, let's rate this sucker. In marketing, what is the score of the Xbox Series X? Revealed at the Game Awards in 2019. Release price date on September 9th, unintentionally. Remember, they got forced into that through leaks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Fine.
They handled it well.
And then it turns out they were going to do it a week later, which is when Sony did it anyway. But how did Microsoft make you feel about
Is
the
this an
Xbox
A to an
this
F?
year? This is yes. This is the marketing, just the marketing.
I feel way better now that I've got hands on with the Xbox, but the marketing up to this, I don't know if it was on me for just feeling guilty maybe about being hyped for next gen. I'm going through things, it's been hard to kind of get excited, get hyped for next gen. There's this kind of underlying guilt weirdly, but
It's been a hell of a year.
it's been a hell of a year.
Michael Huber's Series X review. I'm going through things.
It's 2020, y'all.
But just with the confusing name, again, maybe that's just me. The name was confusing, and
the
just kind
names
of
are horrible.
yeah, and just kind of the features seemed like buzzword kind of stuff until I got my hands on it. Then kind of the smart delivery was
Right.
oh wow, this is actually really good. But everything up until the point where I actually got to use it, I was not hyped. So I don't know. It's kind of low for me.
I think I was a little more optimistic maybe than Huber. Was never going to buy an Xbox because I have a computer that's better than an Xbox Series X, but I'm still part of that Microsoft family, like you said before, because I've got Game Pass on PC and stuff. So I feel like I'm still taking advantage of these things and part of their strategy, and maybe it's that makes me think or makes me be gentle on the Series X a little bit, because to me it is just a cheaper computer.
It is what they said
And,
it was going to be.
It is what they said it was going to be, an iterative machine that comes out and does all the stuff and has a couple of really nice features in the quick resume and the smart delivery and stuff like that, and things that they tout as a positive, which I see as kind of not a negative, but just kind of a staying the course, no real controller changes so that the controller works backwards and forwards and whatever. And it's a feature in some ways and a detriment in others, because feeling the way that PS5 controller feels just immediately, it's kind of incredible. And yeah, so as far as marketing goes, to me it's nothing. It didn't make me offended, and I liked that they rolled with the punches, with the date leaks and stuff like that.
Mhm.
An
So
excellent
it would
point.
have to be a C or a B for me.
Yeah, C
It
plus,
sounds.
B
It sounds.
minus.
Yeah, it sounds like we're around there. Do you refute that, Daniel Bloodworth?
No,
are
I
you
don't
at?
refute it. I think it's Xbox is in a place where I think it's really strong, and I feel like they're in much better footing than they have been in the past. And so I think they can continue to go forward with their strategies, but it doesn't. It still feels like the exciting part of being on Xbox is somewhere off in the future, because of those first party games not really being there day one.
I will say, sorry, were you done, Bud?
I wasn't.
Sorry.
I don't know if you want to interject there or not.
I was just saying with backwards compatibility, because there is nothing really new right now, but I missed a couple things on Xbox, and the fact that there are like enhancements for some of the biggest ones I missed. Like I missed Gears 5, I missed Ori number 2.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Gears is a big one here.
Yeah,
because,
that's
again, I just played for 20, 30 minutes or so just to check it out. I'm like, man, like I'm not really into like the Gears universe or anything, but this is a good looking game.
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
would be into, really checking out the, whatever they've done in this world, and and of course the gunplay is always good and feels good. And
Heard a lot about Gears 5 this week.
yeah. Yeah, I think there's a
Not
lot
about
of people that
that.
are sort of discovering that game.
It's come up a lot.
Yeah.
So C plus, are you cool with that? I'm sorry. Continue your point.
Well, I guess just talking about the marketing, like overall, like the past, like I think, again, I think the name is bad. I think trying to keep the Series S a secret was really just kind of a dumb move.
forgot about that.
Like
he hit it literally.
everybody knew. So when you're ready to reveal your consoles, why weren't you ready to reveal both? Like at least at some point that like it would have made the word series make a little bit more sense, and it's just like this whole time is like they're talking and like, oh no, it's just this one thing, this is our new console. Yeah, and everyone's like, so did they kill the other one or not? And then it shows up like really close to launch. And
Just to confuse, like serving no purpose other than to like confuse. It would
right.
have made more sense, and like also
It would have made
this
more
is
sense to
outside
do
of
them both
their-
at the same time.
Right, and it's outside of their control, but like I think that people's understanding of it, I think, besides their insane naming scheme, was damaged by PlayStation having two versions that are the same machine without a disk drive and with a disk drive, whereas this one is a greater and a lesser version, and like I don't know how true it was, but when they said that like sales of the Xbox One X skyrocketed the day that pre-orders for the Series X happened, like I don't know how true that was or how much there is to that, but like I know some people are making those mistakes.
Hey, it's all revenue.
And like, right, but you're gonna have some disappointed grandsons,
I don't think it was actually that significant.
I don't think it was that
yeah.
significant, but like people are gonna do that. Like
it was less
people are gonna
significant
end up
from
with
the
this
number
S
and
when
more
they
from
want an
just
X.
that it was like almost to the
How
hour.
funny it is.
Like,
Yeah,
whoop.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
But yeah, it's a weird conundrum.
hardware for both of these babies, because again, as Ian just mentioned, there are two consoles, so technically them making that decision can be a part of the hardware conversation. The X and the S, backwards compatibility we discussed. The SSD exchange is something that you can do on the Series X, I believe, and recently found out we cannot do on the PS5.
Oh, the expansion cards.
Yeah, it's a very expensive.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, those
expensive
are
proprietary card.
proprietary cards. I am actually not 100% sure if those are on sale yet. You want to look that up real quickly and see
I
if
don't think they are. Let me check.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can actually expand yet, but you have to get their cards. But they are a really nice form factor because it's just like it's almost like a cartridge. It's just like you just plug that thing in the back of the system and,
I love
and you're good to go.
snapping a cartridge in Bloodworth.
There
That's
you
a good feeling.
Snap dopamine.
But
Expansion
yeah,
pack.
did you have more you wanted to talk about
They're
on the
they're
hardware?
available on the 10th of November for $220.
It's-
MSRP,
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's
which is
expensive, but it's
for
not
a 1
for what it
terabyte.
is. Yeah.
For a 1 terabyte SSD, that's not insane.
Yeah, it does have some dumb extra stuff.
But-
The batteries and the controllers is just a funny thing to have to go get instead of just
feels
simply
very
plug it
old.
into the
Timey.
console.
Yeah.
Still
You
good
can still
batteries.
plug it in and play it without batteries, but yeah.
Plug
And
it in.
and those like when I've had the batteries in this since I got it, my Xbox controller, and like last forever those batteries, double A's.
And there's a
whatever.
optional charge pack
Yeah.
for 20 or 30.
Does a non-proprietary headphone work in the newer Xbox One controllers, because I have had the launch.
Yeah.
Xbox
They added a
controllers?
headphone port later.
Okay,
This one has a headphone port. It looks like.
Got it. Okay, my Xbox
There's like a
controller
year or two
is
that they didn't have
so
them.
old. So it needs that weird like adapter thing that it launched
Yeah,
with.
I forget.
Yeah.
Because I had
Okay.
the launch
It's
one
old
like
news.
you, and then I got the the custom color one.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then so that was kind of the funny thing is like I used the custom color one so much that my trigger started wearing out. But then whenever I needed to use headphones, like I would still pull it back out.
Yeah.
So I like go back and forth between the two of them.
Nice.
Should I put headphone port on the list, Huber? Are you considering that when we talk about?
There is a headphone port on the Series
Got it.
X.
Need that. Headphones.
Does 1440p,
99% of the
which
time.
PS5 does not, and Quick Resume, which we talked a bunch about. Huber,
Yeah.
it seems like they leaned in
Resume.
so hardcore into making this just a satisfying console that works and does what you expect it to
Yeah.
do. Should we give
It
them
feels
high
amazing.
marks for that?
I do. It's so early for me to give a grade for that though, Jones, because I've really only played Assassin's Creed. But just playing it on a base Xbox One and then Xbox
One
One X and the Series X, like it is nice. It is so nice. It looks better, runs better, loads better. Everything
quieter than
across
the
the
PlayStation
board.
5?
It's quieter. Like enhancements across the board. Everything just feels smooth and easy to use. Really impressed. My Xbox hype is rising.
I do personally like the form factor of it. It's very simple,
pretty.
not very zesty or exciting.
Yeah.
I like that it like eats light. It's like they painted the damn thing with Venta Black or something. But I was unsure on the green paint hidden in the vent at first. It's cute enough.
I
whatever.
love it. I
Like,
love
it's fine.
that.
Like it's
it.
fine. But I do like that it has just like little feet on it that you can put it sideways or vertically if you want. Like that's a nice touch. And it's heavy as hell.
It is.
Both of
brick.
these are really, really heavy. But yeah, it's a brick.
Yeah,
looks
I
like
think
a
there's
brick.
something about it though that because it is smaller that it feels even heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it tricks you. And the fan is, from what Blood says, really quiet. So I don't have
love
any
the big open
problems with the
fan on
hardware.
top, Ian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a good design. It's like the old MacBook or Mac Tower, Mac Pro Tower trash can model, where it's just like
Yeah.
sucks air in at the bottom, pushes it out the top. Like that's what air does. So
I'm mostly a PC guy now, and I was like, oh, that's like the first new Mac I won't buy. So just whenever they come out with a new Mac, that was like
Oh, sure.
news I would pay attention to. Not anymore.
I was thrilled to shuffle off the yoke.
Still holding on to
of
that
Apple.
iPhone. A minus.
Yeah,
What for this console here? For these two?
Oh, for
consoles?
hardware, I would go higher than that probably.
I'm knocking it because you said the UI is the same. The controller is not.
Is this
as
just
advanced as the
Xbox
stuff-
Jones, or are
just
we
Oh,
doing
I
both?
see. I see.
The X and
Series
S.
X.
Everything
Okay.
launching on
The
November
UI
10th from Microsoft.
not being different is kind of a strange choice.
But it's
But
weird
again,
though
it's
because they
iterative, it's their
updated
whole
the
thing.
the old UI. Like so it is
Yeah.
newer. But
And
it's,
they do want everything to seem
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
I would probably still go with
Solid A.
like I understand like the controller is definitely a big thing for me for not being more doing more new things with it. And I think there probably are some perks with the PlayStation UI like the just presets and things. But I think I might still go with like A. I wouldn't go all the way up to A plus, but I might. There's hardware terms. I think it's really solid. Obviously, I have no idea how these things are going to compare. Like again, when we're talking about a game like Assassin's Creed, and it's going to be really fascinating to see like Digital Foundry benchmark testing games and seeing how one runs on one system versus the other. I really don't know how that's going to work. Like even though things may look to Xbox's favor on paper, I don't know if that will play out in the real world. But I think in terms of like everything else on the hardware side, it seems really solid and well thought out.
I think for me, I'd go B plus just because of how impressed with the PS5 controller I am, and like that it's a palpable, tangible, feelable thing that feels very next gen. Like it immediately made current gen Rumble feel outdated to me, and that's those are the kinds of things I want in a next gen experience. And with Xbox, the quick resume is the big thing for me for that. besides general load time stuff, but they both have that. So yeah, I know it's not strictly a competition, and I think that Xbox achieved what they were going for, and PlayStation is achieving what they're going for, and they're going for different things. So it is a little unfair maybe to knock it because I find one more satisfying than the other, but yeah, B plus A minus,
Same.
I guess.
B plus, A minus.
There we go. And finally, games for Xbox Series X.
F.
Yakuza Like a Dragon, medium in a month.
They did
but
get
we got
Yakuza
Game Pass.
Yeah,
early
they have
backwards
Yakuza, dude. That is a 10 out of 10
PS5.
Oh,
That's a
that's
weird
true.
one, yeah.
That's true. That's
You
true.
got
That's the primary place to play Yakuza frickin' 7.
yeah, man.
It's crazy.
And backwards compatibility. So like there is a lot of stuff going on. We talked about
Yeah,
Gears
Game
looks
Pass.
great.
Let me look at some of the other stuff because I've got a list over here of things that are going to be like just on our account at launch.
Well, if you're staring at the list, you tell us what the grade is.
Yeah, well, I'm just finding the list right now. So, so Dirt.
You
Dirt
can
5
check
will be
out the
there.
list on the
Assassin's
newest
Creed will be
episode
there.
of Huber Syndrome.
Yeah, I think Yakuza is really the big.
run that
Oh, and
down.
Watch Dogs as well. Yeah, I think Yakuza is probably the big little win for.
But and that's just because PlayStation 5 doesn't get that until March or some weird thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But PS4 gets it right away.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But it's still not very strong. I do think that what they've done with the games that they have optimized, that list, the Forza Horizon 4, Gears 5, Gears Tactics, which I think has only been on PC up to now, and Sea of Thieves, I think those are all like
Yeah.
those are all cool.
Yeah, feels
but
good.
I'm still looking.
Yeah,
I'm still
it's
looking
still a
at
C
like
plus though, right? C plus.
C minus.
C
minus.
minus.
C
Yeah,
minus.
like
Oh, okay. Right.
maybe even a D plus.
Maybe even a D plus. Yeah.
But
Like Yakuza's
third
a
party's
10,
still
but
pretty
everything
good.
else.
the third party's still pretty good. You have a
Sure.
big old Assassin's Creed game there. You got Call of Duty a day later. There's still some big stuff. I don't know if you can write off the third party games just because they're also on other
So
consoles.
keep it at C minus. Don't go to
Fair,
full D.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Real
yeah,
blood
all right.
within. C minus.
Sure.
Okay, there we go.
Fair enough.
Well, I guess we should talk about PlayStation. It's that other thing. We're going chronologically in
Heard of
case
it.
you notice.
Yeah,
This is
we've
that
been
was
talking about it.
that whole feeling that lasted 2 days, but then 48 hours later, kaboom! Hopefully, everybody's pre-orders actually
Mine has a date.
manifest. Yeah, some people will be getting updates.
My Amazon has a date.
Yep,
Nice.
And it's the 12th
nice.
Beautiful.
Fingers crossed
by
for
8
everybody.
p.m. So
We'll be
Fingers
getting
crossed.
a PlayStation 5. Same thing. I want to score this puppy. I want to talk about its marketing, hardware, and games. But there's a lot of weird things that happened this week that I want to bring up. Weird. I want to state first that I think the PlayStation 5 is going to sell more than the Xbox Series X. I don't know if there are lots of people potentially refuting that. I think just based on what's happening with pre-orders, what's happening just with the general climate, and what happened with last gen. Sony certainly seems to be the leader in terms of like people searching for next gen info. Didn't we did like impressions both the Xbox and the PlayStation, and like there were vastly more PlayStation questions. Although I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. Maybe
Right.
people are more confused
yeah.
about what's going on with Sony. But just generally, I'm seeing like Xbox primary YouTubers making PlayStation videos that are getting more views than their Xbox stuff. So it's just kind of like more attention is focused, I think, on this console, which makes it kind of satisfying to point out all of these super wacky, weird things that they're doing. The wackiest thing that we can talk about, and you can kick us off, Blood, is this weird base that this system has, this weird way that it's built, and this base that we are just have to wonder why it exists. Sony went after CustomizeMyPlates.com over a still pending patent. The
I saw that.
Customize
Oh.
My Plates is like, you haven't finished the patent. It's not a patent. You can't do. And they were like, we will though. Do you want to mess with Sony? They didn't. They bailed. They backed out. But so we
Didn't do
can't
that.
even customize this damn thing. What's up with these plates, Blood?
The
Which I'm
plates
kinda
are the base.
surprised by.
The base. Sorry, yeah. The
Yeah, because there's two separate things, but they're both sort of in the same vein of, I think, potential problems with the hardware. I'm not sure how realistically how necessary the space is. Like Brad's like said, it's like he's not using the base. He just stands it up vertically and it stands there fine, and the base will prevent it from getting knocked over easily, but it's heavy. It's not, unless you actually whack it with your arm or something, it's probably not going anywhere. But then they also want you to do it horizontally, which I've done. I just followed the instruction manual, attached the base, put it there. But I'm curious, if there's really any downside to not using the base, and just sitting that thing there, or if it's gonna like rock back and forth or something stupid. I haven't really tried that out because I'm just focused on getting this thing set up the way it's supposed to be set up and going to town on it. But yeah, I do think that it's sort of a disadvantage compared to Microsoft, who just like, here it is. It's got the stuff built into the machine that, you know, for you to put it either way that you need to put it. And the fact that the base, especially horizontally, the base doesn't feel like attached very firmly. Whereas when you put it vertically, it's like, yeah, you screw it in, it's there, it's solid. But horizontally, it's not great.
And Huber, you want that firm attachment, right? You want this,
Yeah,
the
'cause
snap. You want the clip.
I need the snap. It makes me nervous because I'm definitely going horizontal just with my situation. So vertically, I do like the way it looks vertically, but I think horizontally it is horizontally. It's pretty ugly.
I mean,
but again,
it seems pretty clear that it's meant to be vertical.
yeah, totally. Which is unfortunate because it's like I usually just lay mine flat, like.
Yeah, it depends
it in
on
when
what
I'm
your
not using
situation
it.
is, right? Like, and so
Yeah.
when I got to the studio, it was like originally like I was gonna set that thing up vertically, and then like, well, this is just gonna be in the way, like, of the TV.
Sure.
Yeah, it's the size of
Yeah.
the damn Washington Monument.
Yeah, it's massive.
And then the other thing that, like, personally I'm concerned about is that I usually, Christmas time, I tend to go home for a couple of weeks, fly on a plane and take a console with me, separately from the Switch. Like, the Switch is like no big deal, but this thing with the fins, it's like, okay, how is it gonna fit in my backpack? Are the fins gonna get like damaged or pulled on somehow? Or it makes me nervous. And both of these kind of make me nervous too, with the size of their fence. I'm like, okay, I have to like shrink wrap this thing before I put it in my bag to make sure like the bunch of dust and crap
Crumbs don't get in.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Bunch of Biscoff cookies in there. Makes me nervous that you're flying during COVID times, Blued.
But
You
it's
maniac.
well, not even just this year, but just in general, like
Oh.
in the future, But
Oh yeah, I forgot that there was a such thing as a future.
Will the corners of PS5 break? Will I
Right.
get COVID? It's like,
as you mentioned though, like the possibility of like
Priorities.
popping those things off and customizing them is cool. I'm interested in what could happen there, whether Sony does it officially or whether somebody else does it. But what's odd is like I was going through all the manuals and stuff, and I couldn't find anything in there that like told you the right procedure for popping those things off. Like they did in the teardown video. And it's like, it looks simple, but you want to do it the right way.
Well, the
Whenever you
funny
talk
thing in
about
the-
popping off pieces of plastic, you don't want
In the
any
te-
bits to break off.
In the teardown video, it's so funny because he says, he's speaking Japanese, but he's like, these could be taken off by the consumers, and then it looks like he just kind of like wrenches them off, and I'm just like, oh, dude,
Yeah.
like, cool it.
Freaks me out.
Hubert, it feels like Sony didn't do any effort to like unweird this base thing, to make it cool. Like we can't buy this in other colors. It does not. It doesn't. Nothing on this thing. If the PlayStation 5 was a Lego set, I would build it again. I'd be like, I messed this up somehow. This doesn't seem like a thing. This should just be the way it is. Yeah, which seems a little odd. And as Ian was saying, the DualSense 5 is jolly. It's really, really great. It feels great, runs great. I was a little nervous. I'm like, oh, this is kind of big and it's kind of flat on top. And like 5 minutes into Spider-Man, I was like, never mind.
Would have been nice, like, have the Nintendo kind of bring a little Nintendo vibe in with customization. Like, hey, check out all these face plates that you can, swap and change. Clearly, that's their plan in the future, I would imagine, like 2021.
Yeah,
That'll be
that's-
probably a rollout, But it would have been nice at launch. Or just like another color option, like white and black, or
Right.
Well, it'll be an interesting thing if they, instead of doing like, special edition consoles, the collector's edition of whatever game can just have a faceplate.
Right.
That'd be kind of neat.
I'm
It'd
curious.
actually be kind of a cool thing.
I'm curious too because of how far the fins stick out and stuff. Whether like you could potentially even get different shapes. Like if you could get something that was like more compact and close to the console.
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't even think of that.
They have an attitude about it 2 years like, remember those weird bases? We don't know what we were thinking. Buy our new base. Sony confirms the PS5 won't support SSD storage expansion at launch.
Which is weird because it seems like that's just them wanting you to wait so you can buy their like officially approved SSD.
Right.
Which is what Cerny said, and we forgot that. And so a lot of people are talking about that today, which I think is still, again, we're talking about just from a comparison point, between this and Xbox. Does that ruffle anybody? Is anyone upset about that? Should they have been more vocal about that?
That's something down the line. Like even though Xboxes is available,
Right.
that's something like you buy months later. At least for me, like that's a purchase down the line type of thing.
I think that they should have said more about it. Because even with the teardown video showing it off and all of that,
True,
like this is how you
yeah.
do it. Like I think that people have been looking and prepping for launch and potentially have already purchased some SSDs that they think will fit in that slot. And then a week out it's like, yeah, you can't do that yet. It's
yeah,
like,
that sucks.
and it
Well, the
sounds like
thing
it's
that
not even ready firmware wise. Like you just will not work.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not
That's
good.
the thing is I was wondering is it can't be a hardware thing. If you know the specs and like what kind of M2 it takes, like 2800 or whatever it is, like that, they're not going to change that. It's just a firmware thing. Yeah, they'll just update it in. So like that's the thing I like about this design wise is that you can just get any old SSD, which means that you're likely to get a better deal in the future possibly on
Yeah.
this expansion of space. Also, theoretically, I don't know what the limit is, if they've stated that, if there's a limit, but like you could theoretically get like a 2 terabyte one, chuck it in there,
Yeah.
So I like this idea more than a proprietary solution. Unless they hamstring it in some weird way. I'm not even sure if they could, but hamstring it so that you have to get some proprietary SSD, but I don't even think that'd be possible.
No, they're not that. They're just going to be going through and approving them for speed
Yeah.
and size and all of that because there's only so much space in that slot, so that they've all got to work out. It's
Well,
not like
that's
putting
the
it into a giant PC case.
Right. Well, and it's the M2 format, I believe. But, like, that's the crazy thing is, like, the way that this SSD on the motherboard is situated, obviously it looks really spread out and weird. But, like, if everything they've said is true, it is a faster, like, way of doing things. And so, yeah, only certain SSDs would probably meet those requirements. So they'll probably be pretty expensive. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, decent SSDs are more expensive than that Microsoft expansion card. But
Yeah.
it is weird that they weren't more upfront about that earlier.
Cerny's just
Which-
so
which-
happy. It's hard to tell him he's giving us bad news,
Yeah.
He just, everything sounds great,
Just that just makes me think like and the backwards compatibility thing with PlayStation 5 as well, it was so confusing up until like a few weeks ago.
Still
I've just
confusing.
been-
Still
yeah,
confusing.
I've just been honestly, I've just been lost, guys. I've just been lost in the whole thing. I've been at a point where like there's so much information, misinformation. I don't know what's happening. Like just, I resigned myself where it's like, all right, when the consoles launch and I get hands-on time, I'll figure it out. But
Ubisoft
the
said
messaging has been
Assassin's Creed Syndicate, among a bunch of other games. I think it was all those like weird side-scrolling Assassin's Creed games that you didn't like, Bled.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Chronicles.
Chronicles, yeah. Do not quote me on that. A bunch of Assassin's Creed games I didn't recognize, and Syndicate, and like 4 or 5 other games are not going to be backwards compatible on the PlayStation 5. And then Ubisoft was like, "Wait, never mind. We'll get back to you on that." And they totally retracted the whole list.
That's strange.
So I don't know what game messed up that list when they posted it, but yeah, it's still happening. That we're still like, how is that going to work? So I
Yeah.
want you to remember that when we get into grading.
My main
confusion.
criticism on the backwards compatibility front is just that there are certain games that are going to really benefit, that we've seen, like Ghost of Tsushima and Days Gone and stuff. And other games, you put them on your PlayStation 5 and they might as well be running on a PlayStation 4, and you don't really see any improvements. And it would be great to have a definitive list of like, okay, which games are you actually patching to take advantage of PS5? And I feel like that communication really isn't quite there. It's like, okay, they'll work, but which ones do I like want to revisit? Which ones am I really going to get the benefit from that?
the Series X, does it not have it? It has that, right, where you can even sort in your games library
Yeah.
by optimized for Series X.
Right.
Which
so
is
Very
cool.
nice. Very nice.
But you see, on the PlayStation 5, they just have it listed by platform: PS5, PS4,
Right.
PS3.
Right.
So essentially,
So I wish that was in there.
Yes.
They could patch it in.
Yeah. Yes, but essentially, like, what Xbox is doing is they're essentially saying that, like, these are Xbox Series X games now, rather than, oh, this
Right.
is just a backwards compatible version.
I like that.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. It's very nice.
I'm a bit of a VR nerd, so I was a little sad Jim Ryan stated recently in an interview, we're more than a few minutes away from the future of VR. They
Oh,
are.
I
There is a
see.
website you can go to get an adapter to make your PSVR work on your PlayStation 5 to play PlayStation 4 VR games. Not a lot of conversations about PlayStation 5 and VR, with the exception of Hitman. That's the big thing that like we're still holding on to. But even like the Hitman language is getting kind of fuzzy about like how is this going to work? What version of this game am I actually playing? Because this is a last-gen game that is being upgraded. You know, they are adding to it. I don't know. Do you care about VR? Should I just move on to the next topic?
I really want
I can't.
PSVR
It's,
2.
it's not going to
That-
affect my score.
like,
I just, boy,
PSVR
Jim
is-
Ryan just straight up said, like, no, don't stop asking me about that for the next couple of years at least.
PSVR is, in my experience, one of the worst VR headsets. So I would be interested in a new version or them just saying we're done with VR forever. But
By design.
yeah,
I got good VR news coming up later in the podcast.
Well, but I'm curious though, because I feel like that's one of the things where like they said, oh, there's an adapter and it will work and stuff, but I still don't know how much. Again, like how much will PSVR benefit from just not being tied to the PlayStation 4 anymore? Like how much better is that stuff going to run on a PlayStation 5 in general,
I
despite
imagine the frame rate will be stable.
right.
Like,
Yeah,
Just
despite
seems
the
like
fact that
such
the
a
headset
good-
itself is going to be outdated, like the game should still run better, and you know there's a lot of demand for VR games, but we
there's
don't
some
know a lot.
demand for-
Some demand.
It just seems like such a perfect or a perfect time for even like a 1.5 VR, you know, like a PlayStation VR Plus or something, or a Pro. Because then like I never got a PSVR, so then if they came out with like a refresh, it just seems like, you know, if they could take, like Blood was saying, take advantage of these older games. Resident Evil 7 all of a sudden is running better.
I mean, I
Sign me
wouldn't even be that surprised if they did some weird thing where they like partnered with Oculus Quest 2 or something to just make it run on PS5 or some wacky thing
Right.
like that. Like, who knows, man? It feels like they
Totally.
feel like PSVR wasn't worth it because they were pushing it
Yeah.
so hard for a few years and then they kind of just
That's-
like gave up on it.
That's the same vibe I get. It's like they lost the VR game or something. They just
The
lost.
optimist in me is hoping they're just taking their time, but it is something. It's like you said, Blood. I just wish they had come out early on. You know, they didn't do anything early on really in this whole marketing campaign for the PlayStation 5, and just said like, don't. It's not. No, that's not a thing
You know-
we're going to be worrying about at launch. You know, we do. You know, we would like to do VR things on this console, but it's not. You're just not going to get an answer to that question. They didn't really
What is
specify.
very strange though is why make a new PS5 camera then? Because like there's no huge demand
Jackbox. We've already
for a
talked about
PS5
this.
cam.
Ian. No,
It
Jackbox.
barely it doesn't even use the camera.
Jackbox. They
That
really
damn
they don't
thing
anymore.
doesn't even use the damn camera.
Thinking about VR with the DualSense is pretty hype.
It'd be great.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of what you want to. I mean, they should have new motion controllers. Like relying on the Move forever, it's PS3 tech. You know, it's like.
Well, that's the thing. The PSVR has always felt like kind of piecemeal and like just kind of a Me Too sort of a thing. Like, just let it die, yo. It's done. You failed. It's
I just-
fine. Your DualSense is way better anyway.
Give it one more shot, like PSP, PS Vita.
Right.
One more VR. One more
Those
go,
both
Sony.
failed too, kind of.
I feel though. I think the thing
Although I
is
liked
that
the Vita.
I feel like they are in a weird spot with PlayStation VR because it's such a consumer level thing that
Yeah.
you know it's a high ask for people that are not like on that huge tech front to invest in PlayStation VR, and then I think it makes them worry to try to introduce another one. You're like, I just spent however much $200-$300 on this thing. You want me to buy another one now? It's like I feel like they get into that issue and the compatibility issue, which I just feel like on the console side is more of a struggle and a stretch for their market and splitting their market than
Maybe
you have to worry about on PC.
maybe they can have like a coupon day
Yeah.
or something.
Take that PVR money, spend it on fulfilling our pre-orders.
Yeah.
The PlayStation 5 really revealed itself, really got those announcements going, 6 months after Microsoft did. And the price and release date was revealed on September 16th, just a few days, just a week after. Reportedly very close to when Sony was planning on doing it. They had lots of fun Wired articles. It's been a crazy year. I personally
Wired articles.
think this is like one of the wackiest console marketing journeys that I've been on with Sony. But enough about what I think. What is the score for the marketing campaign of the PlayStation 5?
It's weird.
Because
You
who cares?
reminded me
It's
that
like Nintendo. It's like Nintendo making bad ideas. It doesn't matter. This thing is going to fly off the
Right.
shelves. It's going to
Yeah.
sell gangbusters. It doesn't matter.
But like a weird article in Wired was like the first thing we heard about it.
But then we all got excited.
It's
We liked what we were
very
seeing.
atypical.
The news was
It's
good. It's
just-
just the way it was
yeah.
delivered.
Well, and then that Cerny like dissertation like fucking press conference that they had, like that was pretty marvelous.
With the 4 heads.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
somebody tweeted randomly. I saw one day, it made me laugh. They were like thinking about them, and it was just like the 3 people together. Like, who are they? Will we ever know?
So it's been a pretty disjointed, but like it's weird. It almost feels unfair to Microsoft and PlayStation because like 2020, hell of a year. Like no E3,
Uphill battle.
uphill
Yeah.
battle.
It
like
looks like they're
nobody's
both
doing
gonna
things.
actually launch these things. So kudos, yeah.
Right, which is crazy, and like that definitely shifted everybody's marketing plans too, like Sony and Microsoft. So, but it's
What
been it's weird. It's a weird.
Blood, you were
one.
gonna say something?
I
Sorry.
think it's sorry.
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking like it's just this slow burn of like all the past 2 years or whatever has been awkward for sure. But I feel like once they were ready to hit it, they've hit it pretty well.
Yeah.
They haven't hit it perfectly, right? Like we're talking about like with the SSD thing coming out at the like last second, Destruction All Stars being announced at $70, and then it's like oops, but maybe not. So things like that have been misfires, but I feel like in general they've done a really strong job. I feel like people are very excited for PlayStation 5, which I think is an evidence of the good marketing. I think when they revealed it, they had a lot of great stuff to show off.
They did. I went back and fast
Yeah.
forwarded through that event, and that event was hot.
Yeah.
The Demon
Yeah.
Souls and Miles and like,
So
oof, a lot of new
where
IPs.
were we
Yeah,
on
but-
Xbox?
C plus, B minus?
C plus B minus. There.
So
The
maybe
proof's
a
in the
solid
pudding.
B.
This thing
B plus?
sold out instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, it's the other thing
I
too.
think
yeah,
it's
the-
this. I think it's C plus B minus. I think it's the same as Microsoft
I think it's
for
around
me.
the same. I think it's
Same
around the same.
same general amount of hype mixed with confusion. Just kind of
Hard to know where to blame, Huber. It's hard to know.
yeah.
But I like the confusion
Yes,
for
of
both.
course.
Like,
Sure.
you feed it. It feeds a certain. No, but I'm serious. It feeds a certain kind of excited
Mystery.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mystery of everything. Like being like, what? How does that work? What are you talking about? Smart delivery? What? Like, it's part of it, and I love it.
Look how many replies we got to that tweet. Like, yeah, they're all asking you what the
Seriously.
hell you're talking about.
Yeah, what the hell
Wow.
this thing
Ian,
is?
The
Yeah,
engagement.
dude, when I was like bouncing around Xboxes and it was like smart delivering, I was just like, yeah, okay,
Yeah, okay,
this
all
is
right.
what it is.
But that's what you want. You
Yeah.
want there to be like 2 or 3 things where you're like, I don't want that. I don't need it. What are you talking about? And then like the second you use it, you're like, shit, yeah, like quick tip cards or whatever the hell this thing has.
Blades or whatever.
Yeah, oh, that's the old thing. But
Well,
in
here we,
PlayStation 5, they got the cards.
moving on to the hardware. What is this weird, big, clunky, standard or flat? What do we do?
I don't like it. I don't like how
Including
it
the
looks.
UI and the DualSense and everything. I think it kind of
Yeah,
balances
that's the
itself
thing.
out.
Is this weird balance back and forth
Yeah.
between like the things that they're doing to push the generation as a new generation. Like I really appreciate a lot more. Whereas the physical form factor and stuff, like I feel like there's some things to be desired there.
I can't really give a
it's-
final score too until I have
You
it.
haven't played. You haven't used.
Yeah, I
the
haven't even
controller.
touched it. I haven't even
Yeah.
Like-
touched the thing.
That's your own fault.
The labias score points for me, but the controller is pretty fun. I really
Yeah.
liked it. I mean, full disclosure, the only thing I've played on the PS5 so far is Astro's Playroom, and just like one chunk of it. But I do like the UI, and like watch our launch report for the PS5. I was astonished by how many, like how deep down you can drill into accessibility settings, notification settings, the online like solo mode stuff, like so all of that in addition to the controller, and how customizable it is. Like the quick bar on the bottom, you can add and remove icons. It's like a phone, you know? And like global settings for invert for you freakazoids is really, it's an interesting thing. It's interesting and cool and feels new. And like the built-in spoiler warning thing, Huber, like
I
you
love
can set
that.
it. You can set it to have whatever the developers think is a spoiler, or just
Yes.
anything past where you are in a game. It won't show you,
It's
or it'll
amazing.
warn you. And like that stuff's cool as hell. And like the tooltip things, the like spoiler free, like how do you beat this boss thing, it's really neat. So
B?
yeah, the thing is huge and crazy and weird, but that controller is sick and all those things are cool. So yeah, it has the edge on the Xbox for me for sure.
And one of the most important
A
things for me
minus
is
maybe.
noise. And it's quiet as a mouse, you guys say?
The
Louder than the
Series
Series X.
Series X is silent, whereas the PlayStation 5 it shakes a little bit, just a little bit. It hustles.
Dude, the Series X.
I can hear it.
It's nice.
It's like, you ready to play Spider-Man?
Look
yeah,
at it.
let's do
Look
it.
sound. Does the PlayStation 5 light up in a dark room when it's on?
Yeah.
What are like the I'm
It has like a
on
blue
lights?
pulse, right?
There's
It's like hidden
Just
under
when
the
there's
Like
like a
when
ring of
you're
light,
gaming.
but it's not like it's shining up the room.
Okay.
It's not like casting light outside of itself, really.
Those little things.
Yeah, I
bug
remember
me.
I could find the USB ports and the on button and stuff like that in the dark. It wasn't because I turned the lights off when I played Spider-Man.
Okay.
Well, games, surely this is where this is going to run away with it, right? Games, this thing at 19.
I don't even think I got to say there, but I'm probably in the same ballpark, like A minus or so. It's weird because it's like I feel like they sort of balance out in weird ways. They're like
Yeah.
the advantages and disadvantages of those two. It's like the form factor is better on the Xbox, but then the newness
resume
of
is great.
features are better on the PlayStation.
Good scores for hardware for both of them. It's nice that we don't have any Kinects or 6-axis or something. And it's none of that. We're getting very, very specific on these consoles. And yeah, just, Sony's working hard to get all of these exclusives. And they got some awesome games. 4 exclusives specifically, 19 newer upgraded games. Plus you got the PlayStation Plus, which has all that stuff. If you got that service going into the game, you're going to have all that stuff unlocked. Is that just a flat A? Is it more?
I mean, it's pretty damn great. And I mean, obviously,
Astro's
I'm biased
great.
to
Spider-Man's
Demon's
great.
Souls.
I
but-
would be astonished.
Yeah, Blue Point knows
Demon's
what's
Souls
up.
is not
Oh,
good.
Yeah,
Demon's
Right.
Souls is
What?
going to be.
that'd be shocking.
Yeah.
When I heard that they let how much control you have over the camera, like you can do their new cinematic camera or just put it back the way it was, I'm like, all right, they can be trusted. They're
Yeah.
doing the right thing. They're leaving World Tendency alone. Nobody panic.
They're also leaving that one boss alone.
Yeah,
Which
I
old
think
monk? Yeah,
Leave him
I mean that's
alone.
dope.
I feel like A
Well,
minus
because it
on
needs to
games.
work the way it needs to work.
Right.
A minus, you eat crow. That's
There's
an
nothing.
A.
There's
Demon's
nothing
Souls.
here that's like
Dude, launching
revolution
with a
of-
Souls game that is next gen only, it doesn't get
It's
more
great.
hype than that.
no. It
from
does get better than
2003
that.
or whatever.
You do get better than that. Yeah.
I
Elden Ring.
We cannot disregard the third-party games though as well. You have a
I'm not
huge
disregarding them, but I'm just saying that like there is
Huge
nothing
Call
that's
of
like,
Duty.
holy crap, the new generation is amazing.
Demon's Souls.
Like the new
Demon's
generation.
Souls.
Demon's Souls.
It's
Miles Morales
going to
so
be
cute.
both of those games are going to be both amazing, like good games, but they're not going to be like this is a completely different
Demon's
new
Souls
era.
is already goaty. What are you talking about, Blood?
It fucking better be. You Philistines.
Whoa! Time for also this week. Okay. Yeah, baby, we scored those. I had two.
I think
before
Blood's right
also
though.
this
A
week, though, I got
minus.
things. Yeah.
You can always do a little better, sure. Like
You
the
know,
fact
again,
that
I'm
Miles
talking about, like-
Morales is an expansion and it's also on PS4 marks it down a little bit.
Compromised.
Marks
Yeah,
it down
well,
a little
I'm thinking, like again, you look at like something like a Mario 64, or you look at something like the Dreamcast launch.
Revolutionary.
It's just there's a different level there
Sure.
that I
Yeah.
think that it's just not quite hitting. So
But have you seen the Demon Souls trailers, Bloodworth?
I actually have not. I've tried to avoid some of those.
Fair. That's what
You
makes
don't
me think
play?
about it is we were all
I wanna
pointing
play it,
fingers,
yeah.
being like, what game are we supposed to be watching? That's really showing us footage we've never seen before. Not just better footage, but like, whoa, what is this game? And turned out to be Demon's
Yeah,
Souls.
I feel like Demon Souls is probably the closest thing to that.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, yeah.
I think no less than an A-, also on sheer variety. Getting Astro's Playroom for free, getting Bug Snacks as a PS Plus game for free, getting legendary backwards compatibility games like God of War 60 frames is
Bloodborne.
nuts.
GTA 5 coming next year. I'm with you, Huber.
Yeah.
Launch window.
I will reiterate that
Potentially.
Astros is, that is.
That's
just
what I was gonna
a
say, yeah.
wonderful, wonderful thing to put in. there,
Astros
yeah.
is
Super cool.
great.
That's what I love about it. It's just a
And
nice, it's a
just
little gift
such a
basket.
good-
Spider-Man, Astros, and Demon Souls. Like, that's a lot.
It's a showcase that's not just the demo. That's the
Right.
thing. Like
It's not
a legitimately
annoying.
fun game. Yeah.
Nice.
and it has
But
to
also,
be a
it
comedy,
just
right?
it feels like the old days of buying a thing and getting a game with it. You
Love
know,
that.
like looking at the box of the Genesis on the ride home and like seeing
Yeah.
that you're gonna play Sonic or whatever.
Yes, Ian.
Not quite Wii Sports caliber, but yeah,
Well, sure,
it definitely
nothing
scratches
can
that
be.
itch. It would be funny if like one of those like here's the tech for the games was like really depressing. It was actually this like Silent Hill game or something. It was
Like
just
this
like
war
oh,
of mine.
This tech is really cool, but man,
my God.
what a downer way to start up a new console.
One thing I do
You're
want
like
to.
feeling the haptics as you choke someone to death in like real time. You're just like,
console,
oh my God, this controller is so cool.
Thanks for the PlayStation 5.
I could feel the windpipe crush.
I can hear Huber describe it now. You can feel the life slip out of them through
He's gonna
the
make you say
DualSense. Can't wait.
You will.
It's gonna be a good
say
gen.
that.
I'm looking
Oh
forward to
my
this gen. It's
gosh.
gonna be fun.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, Blood.
No, one thing a little extra spin I want to put on this. Which I touched on this kind of at length in the Xbox video, but just I want to just say like launch preparedness in terms of like communication on the press side. PlayStation has the advantage on this.
Yeah.
Because with PlayStation it was like, okay, here's what's happening like tomorrow, and we need all of you, everyone that's going to be touching this thing, to get on a call. We're going to go through the order of everything you're going to get from us. Here are all of the embargo dates, because there's like 4 or 5 different dates when things can go up, and this is what you can expect. And there's a couple of things that changed, like Destruction All-Stars getting delayed, but otherwise, like, they communicated up front, and we knew what to prepare for, and we kind of tackled it. And there's some parts of that that are disappointing, like,
Yeah.
oh, we're not getting Demon Souls with the console, like crap.
Screwed the whole plan of why Brad had.
Why Brad had one? Yeah, it's like I at least had to give them.
Stupid PS5 owning Brad.
Yeah, that bastard.
But with Xbox, it was just like it's like the story changes like every 2 or 3 days, and it's like I get a box, and then okay, now what? And like, oh wait, don't turn it on yet. I'm like,
That was my favorite.
really?
When they were like,
Don't turn it on yet.
Yeah.
You
The
can't
Series
turn it
X,
on
they said,
until next
"Don't
week
turn it
sometime." I'm
on
like,
for 4
okay.
days.
And then they sent over this big pack of games, and then they didn't have any information on what we could and couldn't do with individual games. And I'm like, I know that game has an embargo. I know I can't just talk about that on the day that we can review the Xbox. So what am I, and it sounded like, yeah, if you haven't gotten separate communication, it's all fine. But then slowly but surely, like, other dates started coming in, and like, oh no, this code won't actually work yet until launch day. And this code,
It's been a nightmare.
yeah, like with Huber with Assassin's Creed, we got an Assassin's Creed code that was from Microsoft that wouldn't unlock until launch day. And I thought I was giving Huber like an advantage, a couple of days early access before we got the Ubisoft code, but then we had to get another Ubisoft code for Huber to actually play the game. And then, yeah, other things were like games actually downloaded, and I was actually playing them, and they said they were optimized for Series X, and I look in the details, and it says it's the Anaconda version, and it's like, no, actually, that's basically just the Xbox One version of the game. Sorry, you have to wait. We'll let you know when that's the Series X version. And so just like burning a lot of time, and like, Huber went home. Like, he came in to capture all day, and then he went home because like, oh, we've got to figure this out because the game's not working yet. So it's been a little bit of a mess, and it's like I don't blame the people that I'm working with, because like they're doing their best to answer all my questions, but they didn't have the information that they needed.
Consider it.
So, yeah.
Didn't
Someone has to
mention
be blamed.
I blamed
Didn't
Brad.
mention-
Brad messaged me in Slack and was like, "Yo, Jones, I beat Spider-Man. If you need any help." I was like, "You mind your own business. I can't play that game for another 4 days. You shut up, Brad Ellis."
Yeah, capture.
you forgot to mention the Pathless and Godfall PS5 games as well.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, Pathless.
What's Godfall?
What's it? We
that?
didn't. Oh well. Hey, I'll tell you what Godfall is. Godfall's not coming out. Oh no, Godfall is only a PlayStation 5 exclusive until May 12th.
Oh,
But Warframe's getting a PlayStation 5 upgrade. They just announced that. Woo!
nice.
Will I finally jump into Warframe?
One of the one of those games.
Looks cool though.
Also, this week, I was going to talk about Nintendo's 6-month earnings statement and EA's Q2 financial results. And Hubert loves when I talk about earnings statements and
Yes.
financial results, but we just say we don't have time. I'll run through it really quickly.
Oh, earnings? No, these are the ones I don't like.
Yeah.
Where it's like these made $900 million,
Yeah.
whatever.
Nintendo's kicking ass. EA's kicking ass. Net profit for the last 6 months in Nintendo has reached $2 billion, up 243.6%.
Jeez.
243%. Hardware sales reached 12.53 million units worldwide, 80% increase year on year. These are just crazy numbers. That would have been a fun conversation, but we talked about NPDs recently, and Nintendo's just been killing it. 20 games sold at least 1 million units on Switch hardware. Nintendo published 15 of those, so they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
EA also seems to know what they're doing. They grabbed that the license for the UFC through 2030 and NHL through multiple years. Quote. But they posted their their quarter Q2 for 2021. Madden NFL 21 is nearly 30% more players year over year, Huber. So they just can't do anything
Jeez.
wrong with that franchise. EA Play, previously EA Access and Origin Access, passed 6.5 million subscribers. And according to EA, Apex Legends is on track to become a $1 billion franchise.
Wow.
According
I
to
believe
that.
it.
You believe
Nice.
it? Nice.
I believe it. Fortnite and Apex, man. Kicking ass. And Warzone, I guess.
Call of Duty, I guess. Pokemon
Yeah,
Go's
just Call of Duty.
Pokemon Go's 2020 revenue estimated at $1 billion.
Yowza.
Best year ever. Only going up for
Still-
Pokemon Go.
That's
Wow.
funny
year
for
That's
Pokemon
impressive.
Go.
Yeah.
The year people are supposed to stay inside.
Oh no, they
what?
countered that immediately. They were
They
right
changed.
on top of that.
Yeah, they changed how it works.
They had some event
Oh,
planned
nice.
that they were like, we are still doing this event. No, we are not canceling that. Activision Blizzard reported third quarter net revenue up 52% to 1.95 billion. Almost made two. Couldn't pull it off. The Activision portion of that doing much better than the Blizzard portion of that right now. Here's my happy VR news. Oculus Quest 2 pre-orders were 5 times higher than Oculus Quest.
Nice.
So just keep that trend going. Sony is going to buy anime streaming service Crunchyroll for over 957 million.
Nice.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Dude.
a win for anime.
Bombshell.
that's relevant to our interests, right? It's not
I-
necessarily gaming
dude, I
news,
have-
but we
I
need to.
subscribe.
Relevant
We need
to my
to.
interests.
Our listeners appreciate
I'm a
that.
Crunchyroller, baby.
Um,
I got HBO Max now because I abandoned Roku. Feels good.
Classic Guilty Gear got a player spike after they rolled back the netcode patch, or there was a rollback netcode patch, as we talked about in Silver Lining. Unfortunately, the nasty lining to that Silver Lining was Lab Zero Games developer Mike Zaymont worked on this patch, was hired for this patch. After all of the stuff that he did, after Lab Zero, after wanting to kick him out of the company and dealing with all these ownership issues, they were like, can you make this work? Because he was just the most qualified person to do it, and the people that hired them were like, yeah, we aren't proud about it, but we're happy that our player base is digging this thing. Fortnite is launching with PS5 and Series X, 4K, 60 FPS, dynamic visuals, and physics. Dynamic physics? How does physics work out with crossplay? How are you playing with people on other consoles if you got dynamic physics only on one console?
Also, isn't physics inherently dynamic? That's
Stop it.
Physics.
Yeah.
Ruined
Ray
King.
tracing on PS5 also, right? I think.
I don't know. We'll see. It's gonna look better.
Do you remember ray
think
tracing?
so.
I got a 4K TV, Hubert.
You did?
First time ever. Omar and I went and
Whoa.
bought 4 identical 4K TVs for our living room for
Dude,
next
buddies.
gen.
TV
And
buddies.
They're just next to each other. I've got my Google TV. He's got his Apple TV.
Demon Souls
To run
full
'em?
blast.
Demon Souls full blast. Sorry, I'm just really excited about.
I'm excited. It's the time to talk about 4K, the relevance, the value of 4K.
I've never
report
had
back.
4K TV.
Report back next week.
I will.
Ruined King, a League of Legends story, is launching in early 2021. That's the first league on consoles. Fairly big deal. Playdate, the tiny yellow handheld with a crank, is delayed to early
Yeah.
2021. Sega is selling Tokyo-based to Tokyo-based Genda an 85.1% stake in its arcade game branch, which is Sega Sammy. I think is specifically the branch of Sega that's selling that. So, just to pour one out for arcades, but something that Sega's not investing in anymore.
Virtua Cop.
Activision and Acclaim, of all the games. Of all
That's
the
the one.
games. Okay.
That's the Sega arcade game, Jones. Virtua Cop.
Activision and
Yu
Acclaim
Suzuki.
veteran Greg Fishbach formed Accelerate Games and is working on Toy Soldiers, a new Toy Soldiers game.
Why do all of these companies start with AC? That's,
I don't know all of them,
anyways.
Bandai Namco and At Games settled the infamous, that we've talked about several times, Miss Pac-Man dispute, the arcade blast from At Games will go on to sell as planned. There was a dispute over Miss Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man will not be in the Arcade Blast micro console that you can pick up. Old School RuneScape broke its concurrent player record at 157,445 people. They added leagues. Everybody freaked out. They broke that. Old School RuneScape still going strong. This happened right before we started recording. Somebody attacked Capcom servers and stole a terabyte of data. Capcom says consumers are safe. Thanks, Capcom.
Great.
Breached.
Yeah, it's always good when the hackers have their own website and they're like, "We got your stuff," and Capcom's like, "No, they didn't." We're like,
No, they didn't. Trust us.
I don't humor. Is this a spoiler? I can't tell. L.A. Dodgers Cody Bellinger will cameo in Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Hell.
It's like, what's his
I
butt
mean,
being in Game of Thrones? It's like, is this make it worse, better, or who do I care? I don't know.
It's the most bizarre celebrity cameo I think I've ever heard of in my entire life. Nothing more bizarre than Cody Bellinger in Assassin's Creed. It's so weird. It's so weird. It freaks me out how weird it is.
And the day before Halloween, on October 30th, From Software tweeted, "We also greatly appreciate all the enthusiasm and support shown for Elden Ring, our next dark fantasy action RPG. We hope you look forward to it."
Yeah.
Oh, tease.
Thanks for that.
Next year. More details next year. Let's
Wow.
go. No rush.
Remember that? Thanks. Thanks for your questions. It's time for Love and Respect.
Love and respect.
Brandon K. Gann, as we all stand on the doorstep of next gen, I have an impossible question for you all. What is the main improvement for the gen after? Because we're over it. We're over this gen. The coming gen is all about load times, SSDs, native 4K, etc. But what areas do you think would be the major selling points for 7 years from now? Do we think it's going to be 7 years? That's another question. I know a completely ridiculous question, but a fun exercise to ponder. File size, storage space, more SKUs, something else entirely? What's next? The PlayStation 6 advertising campaign begins right now.
Oh my gosh. I haven't even played PS5. Thinking about PS6.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Kind
Well, we're
of
not
drawing a
to
blank. I don't know.
AI, baby. That's the big
I mean,
thing.
yeah. That,
I mean, shouldn't
that
we
was
be
the
doing
first
that now,
thing.
though? That's what's...
Well, yeah, because I play lots of open world games, and I was playing Watch Dogs Legion. I bet that runs best on next-gen consoles. I played it on PC. Load times are great, but you just dumb people all over the place. It's just people. Even Spider-Man, that moment from Spider-Man, the scene that we all saw with them walking down the street with all the Christmas and everything, it was so beautiful. His friend made a beeline straight for a wall, immediately, right as we moved out of the cutscene, he just took a left and just hugged a pole. I'm like, no.
Hey, that happens with race cars in real life, John.
I was gonna use that shot, but now I can't. I don't have time to replay it.
I double down on that. That's such a good one.
I would love,
Yeah.
Especially in
That
open
was
world
what I was
games.
gonna say, too.
and horror. I'm a big horror fan, and just a game to you hear Phasmophobia, they get in your ears, and it's yes, but the second time I hear that, it's over. I'm not scared of it anymore. If it knew what I was doing and was commenting on that, even if the voice was kind of robot voice.
My fear, went down way fast in that. But I mean, you see things like the Unreal 5 engine demo, and what it's able to do and how many polygons it's able to pack on there, and the physics advancements and ray tracing and all that stuff. Certainly those kinds of things are going to advance for this generation, let alone next generation. But yeah, the stuff that I think will be really big too, besides AI making games more, because I think we're going to see that hopefully with Cyberpunk, where like you can kind of talk to anyone and get at least a little bit out of them, possibly. I think that the more intelligent these engines get, the less time developers will have to spend on just like really low level like systems stuff. Like the more that an engine takes care of that, the way Unreal 5 does, they'll have more time to engage with more content and more stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So as the tools get better, the games will hopefully get better because developers will have more creative time that doesn't need to be spent doing nitty gritty stuff too. Oh. And it'll all be online streaming, and gens won't exist anymore. So
Right. There's that, that argument that like everything will just start moving towards streaming, but
yeah,
I mean, the fact is that
even 7 years is too soon for the infrastructure. of this
the
country,
internet
at least.
is garbage. So
Whoops, I broke it.
Yeah. Garbage internet. So bad.
And with the whole series model, it's like we're just gonna get more series.
yeah,
I
I'm
guess
very
they
curious
renamed
what the
those?
next
That's why we know it's a
Xbox
new
is
gen?
going to be named.
Yeah.
It'll be something with an S or an X in it.
From Gaspard, greetings, allies. I have a cozy town edition. I repeat, Huber, town edition of real or fake for you. I have a list of 15 town names. All you got to do is tell me if they're real or fake. Jonas forgiven for any mispronunciation. Hope this was fun. Love and respect, Gaspard. Oh, by the way, Gaspard, you misspelled mispronunciation.
Oh damn!
It's cool. It happens. You know when you try to do something correctly and you do it the wrong way. Number
I
one.
broke my hair clip.
It's your only hair clip?
Nah, I got another one.
That was your
Headphones
good
kind of naturally do that a little bit, right? Just get the hair back there. Number one, Fenmont.
Real.
Did
Wait, what's the game?
Gaspard make this up, or is this a real town in a video
Fake.
game? Bonus points if you know the
Oh.
game. Fenmont.
Fake.
Fenmont.
Fenmont.
Fenmont?
I got nothing to go off of. I was like real.
Maybe real. It is real. It's from Tales of Exilia.
I was gonna say Tails too. Damn it.
Say it.
Me too. I was gonna say Tails.
Oh, it's so Tails.
Melfina. Melfina.
That sounds real.
Malfina.
They all sound real,
Sounds like
probably.
malfeasance.
Fake.
I want to say it's
Fake.
something from like Octopath or one of.
It's from The Last Remnant. There you go.
We need Ben for these. Dude. These are
Yeah,
all JRPGs.
Yeah.
Gregorio.
Fake.
Gregorio.
It's an easy one to fake.
Yeah.
It is fake. How the heck could you know? just feels fake.
It's so fake, man.
Orbis.
That's so dumb. It has to be
That's
real.
real. Orbis
Orbis.
is real.
It is real. It's in the very dumb Maple story. I'm kidding. Paulima Capital.
Paulima?
Paulima Capital.
This is real. Is this
That's
Final
gotta
Fantasy
be-
14 or something?
It feels real.
fake.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Oh, it's fake.
The capital.
You know
Well
it.
done.
That's a good one. I like
well
that. That's a good one.
done.
If you if
He changed up the format.
if it was Gregorio Capital, would that throw you? You'd be like,
Yeah.
well,
I would have said true then.
it's the capital of Gregorio.
Yeah.
Blood would have sniffed it. Gregorio,
good.
Blood sniffed it.
Vaspar.
That's real.
That's real.
Sounds familiar.
Super fake.
Ah,
Whoa.
Damn it, Blood.
I even
You're quick.
it's even in Google Docs. It's flagging. It's like
my
Vaspar. The hell is
God.
that? Gregorio. I know what Gregorio is.
that's not a fictional
But
place.
Vaspar, get out of here. Correct that. Lumina.
This is real.
Well, there's Lumina Engine.
Luminous engine.
Oh, right.
Lumina.
Lumina feels like it might be something that's not a town. But I'm thrown off now. I'm been
I'll
so
say
wrong.
real.
I'm rattled.
It's a town, man. Legend of Mana.
Boom.
Ah,
Nailed it.
This is a weird one. The Village.
Resident Evil
Well,
Village.
The Village.
the village. That's
You
that's
could
too
argue
dumb
for
to
that
not
being
be real.
in
Yeah.
several games.
Specifically, Gaspard is arguing that it is in Nier, the first Nier. You go to
Hmm.
the village. Limsa Lominsa.
Oh, that's true. That's Final
I've
Fantasy.
heard that. Yeah, I've heard
That's
that
Final
before.
Fantasy something. It's one of those like 15 maybe or
11.
Or 6, judging
Yeah.
by Jones's reaction.
yeah. Which one? 6?
14, baby. That's in
No,
you
14,
Can,
okay, yeah.
You can download that
14.
game and go
Is it-
travel
wait,
to
is that where the-
Limsa
I knew I'd
Lominsa.
been
the
to this
elves?
town. I knew I'd
Is that
been
where
there.
the elves start?
It's not with
I
the
feel like
elves,
I've been there
no,
too.
elves, stop it. They're
Yeah, they're elves.
What are they called? They're called the Taru Taru. In I think Limsa Lominsa is where they're from. The little guys. They're called Taru Taru in Final Fantasy
Oh.
11. I can't remember what the Correction
What
next
are the
week.
elves called?
Elves? I don't
I
know.
was
dude.
I was one. The
Oh
tall,
no, they
sexy
all
ones.
have weird names. That's right.
Right.
Whatever.
I'll get it before the end. Bebop City.
Bebop.
Bebop
City.
Bebop.
City?
B-E-B-O-P. Bebop City.
Ooh.
Fake.
I want that
That's
to be
real.
real, so it's
Fake.
fake.
It is fake. Good job,
Probably
Huber.
in Mega Man.
Yes, I was not gonna fall for the extra word.
Right. Kowloon.
Kowloon, that's
Yeah.
Shenmue 2, dude. Let's go.
Come on, man. Kowloon.
Let's go.
Of course.
Kowloon
we're
Knights.
getting that one by him. Radiata City.
Oh.
Radiata Stories, dude.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
this true?
Yes.
Yeah, let's go.
Is this
let's
true?
Go.
Cat's Cradle.
Ooh, Cat's Cradle's a good one. I'm gonna go with fake.
Me too. I'm gonna go with Blood.
That's fake.
Nice.
That song is real, though. That Ian's singing. It's a good song. He's not making that song up right now. What the hell are the little... and finally, Le Havre. Or Le Havre.
Oh, that's real.
Leanne
This has
LaHavre.
got to be real.
Shadow Hearts Covenant.
Nice.
Le Havre?
Ooh.
Le Havre,
Don't
maybe?
skip.
It's official.
Lee Haver.
It's like something in the UK. It's just like lever.
Le Havre.
Lava.
From Andy Locken, something real dumb I've been thinking about lately. Which generation is the Switch? The GameCube was in the PS2 Xbox generation. The Wii was in the PS3 360 generation, which means that the Wii U was in the PS4 Xbox One generation. So does that mean that next gen actually started 3 years ago with the Switch? Also, is this even worth caring about?
I think the
Basically.
Switch though
Nintendo-
had as a major head start, so they're in their own. They're on their own timeline.
I think the real answer is Nintendo finally stopped playing the game
Yeah.
and started winning their own game.
Right.
Yeah.
They stopped.
Yeah.
They stopped.
They're not in the game.
They're not in the same race. They're in their own race, and they're destroying it.
Yes.
Like they don't.
Yes.
They're not part of the console wars. They're part of the Nintendo. Just does Nintendo.
They exist outside of it.
Ian,
But it's like 6.5, I guess, or 7.5.
that is
If this is 8.
that's a fascinating incorrect take.
Oh.
Just kidding. I looked this up. I did a Cup of Jones on it, so I just looked this up. According to Wikipedia, which we, is law, especially in the gaming space.
If you're not writing a college term paper, it's
his
the
head.
law.
It's last gen. The Switch, that's last gen. The Wii U and the Switch are apparently the same gen. The Switch is
That's
Okay.
weird.
the Switch is their handheld console, man. I don't know. That's what according to Wikipedia. There is no answer to
don't-
that. It doesn't matter.
They play to the beat of their own drummer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If there's anybody in this industry that proves nothing matters, it's Nintendo.
Yeah.
In terms of like the rules you need to play to do anything. John Santoro, with Next Gen arriving next week, I wanted to know what are some of your favorite launch titles from prior generations? Are there any games in particular you remember playing on day one with your new console and just having nothing but good vibes? As always, love and respect. To wrap up, love and respect. We've talked about launch lineups
Consult-
a lot. Just those
Yeah,
games.
consult
though.
our recent tier maker.
But
Right.
not. But that's the
During
thing.
our
It's
marathon
not
stream.
because of sales. Not kind of what really resonated with you. Like what were
Can
those
I-
memories that you have?
Can I bend it a little bit and say the
No.
game that I bought with my new console?
Okay.
It was a
No.
launch game for me.
No.
No. That's not weird.
Not even Blood likes it.
Because like Dead Rising came out like weeks later or something, dude. It was
Right.
close.
Well, I
man.
mean, it's like with Smash Brothers Melee, which I
Just
tend
give
to
me
argue
Dead
for. It's
Rising.
Like that was
Launch
like a week
window.
or two later, but
Dead Rising was so future, man. It was the future. It was nuts. It was just next gen, in my face, HD visuals. I'm saying Dead Rising. You're not stopping me.
The ones for me, I mean, like obviously, like historically, Super Mario 64 is like god tier, but like the ones
Yeah.
that personally I loved the most are really dumb bad games. Summoner and the Bouncer come to mind.
Nice.
Just two shitty. They're both Square Enix, I think, or maybe just Square in the case of Summoner.
Dude, shout out to the whale in Sonic Adventure, running from that
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Big one, big moment.
yeah,
Bouncer,
Rogue Squadron 2, dude, that game. Like
Lighting.
it's-
Those
Well, yeah, that's the
lasers.
thing. It's like it's so rare for like a launch game to be like one of the most technically proficient games of the entire platform.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Like you put that up against any like late, like last gen or whatever, or like the late cycle, whatever. I forget how you refer to it. But the end of the GameCube's life.
Yeah.
If you put like Rogue Squadron 2 up against Twilight Princess. Like, Rogue Squadron 2 holds up. It's a good looking game.
Even today.
That is something that's kind of interesting that doesn't happen as often in video games as it has in movies, where it's like Jurassic Park still looks basically amazing, and it was like one of the first uses of CG because they had to just take the time to make it look amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was the first time and they didn't know what they were doing, so they just had to do it right, you know? That doesn't happen as often in console gaming, where it's like, we were inventing this tech as we did it, so we got it super right because we were really careful. Like, yeah, it's rare.
Jurassic Park's
Dead
fascinating
Rising
because
came
there's
out-
some shots that don't look good at all anymore, and some
Some
shots that
do
still
not hold up.
done. Like
Yeah.
the T-Rex sequence largely is just like
The T-Rex
finished.
sequence.
Cut, print,
Yep.
ship.
The gamma's a little weird on some of the Brachiosauruses.
The,
and
the
like
first
wide
the first
shots.
dino you see looks very bad.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
bummer.
yeah.
That scene's kind of ruined.
But that T-Rex dude. Ugh.
Huber?
Dead Rising came out
Stop
like
it.
8 months later.
8 months, dude.
8 months
Too
is not
long.
launch
That ain't no
window,
Yeah.
dude.
That ain't no launch window.
How about
You're fired.
5 months?
You're done.
Can we do 5?
Can you
Months?
can we get 5 months?
5
now?
months
5
later?
months.
You're talking about
Do it the
5
other way
weeks.
around.
Resident Evil
Look at
remake
them.
on GameCube, man. 5 months later.
That's not a launch game.
Damn
So
it.
done. You're done. Why? Because it is
All right,
time for bets.
Oh!
no.
Turok. Turok is my final answer.
Yay,
Turok
we
Dinosaur
did it.
Hunter. We nailed it.
So far
Nowhere
from
near a launch game.
nowhere near his final answer either.
I give up. That's it.
It's time for bets. Next week's bet. The PlayStation 5 launches in 1 week on November 12th, as we have discussed. Right now, the DualSense wireless controller is number 5 on Amazon's best-selling video game list. That was when I checked the podcast. It was number 6 earlier today. Let me triple check that it's still number 5. It is. It's number 5. That is, if you want to know, go to Amazon bestsellers and then click video games. That list. Number 5 right now. Where will it be at the launch of the PlayStation 5? Ian Hink.
8th.
Okay. Michael Huber.
7.
Oh.
Up here. Yep. 7.
Daniel Bloodworth.
Oh, you got a problem. I'm also 8.
Oh, no, it's not a problem.
Uh-oh.
It's not a problem if you win, because I'm lower than that. I'm 4. Yeah.
Okay. Dude,
going
I'm skeptical. There's so many games.
I am
coming out
skeptical
next
too.
week.
I wanted the low. That's the
Yeah.
only reason. Only reason I bet that. I don't think it'll be 4, but in case lightning strikes, we
It's gonna be
win.
Demon Souls, baby.
Last week's bet. I visited Twitch on Halloween night at 7 p.m. when we regularly record this podcast, and I checked how many people, how many channels, not how many views it was getting, but how many different people were streaming the Dark Pictures anthology Little
This
Hope.
ridiculous bet.
Little Hope.
Oh,
Yeah.
we
Do
Do you
were-
remember when you did that thing, Ian? That was
Hey,
the best.
that
ever,
was your
dude.
fault.
The best. What a jolly time.
Daniel Bloodworth bet
You got
220.
me hyped up.
Michael Huber bet 345. Michael Damiani bet 50, and I bet 222.
222 different people.
222 different people. I did do a hard bet. I don't have a hard number for you because I assure you it was under 100. It was not. It was less than before. People beat it on Friday. They did not come back to it. Some of those bigger channels had a lot of people watching, but just the actual individual channels, it dipped. Damiani won that bet with 50. Definitely far from myself or Bloodworth, who were eerily close. Which brings us sadly to Jovial Penguins 16.
I forgot the quote.
That's fine. You remember to dress up, which I appreciate, and it's
Yeah,
it's
it's the best.
Thanksgiving themed, which is nice. Astonished Scorpions 13. Let me tell you
Here's a Thanksgiving theme. One.
about patreon.com. Oh, I'm hungry now. Let me tell you about patreon.com/easyallies. Hey, all this next gen stuff you can get for free. You can go to our YouTube channel. You can get all of that stuff. But we are primarily supported from Patreon. We have got a lot of support in the month of October. A lot of attention given to us from our lovely people that have supported us throughout this very difficult year in such a way that we can take the time to prepare all this wonderful next gen content. If you would like to be a part of all those wonderful people supporting us, you can do it at patreon.com/easyallies. We have fun new exclusive shows that are going to be rolling out very soon. You can get exclusive access to those shows. Some of those you can get early. Some of those you can only get on Patreon. You can get more info and check out stuff that we've already produced. Patreon.com/easyallies for just $1.
And they're a lot of work. I hope you like them.
That's so important.
Wow.
That's a
I
sentiment.
know it doesn't matter to you, but these shows are
That's a
hard.
sentiment I don't think we share. We finished the impressions, Blood, and I like there was this voice in the back of my head. Am I cutting this? I was like, oh shit, we just finished wrapping the Xbox thing, and you were like, and then upload that for Ian. And I was like,
Yeah. No,
It's always the worst.
but I'm doing a
ended
showcase
up-
with you tomorrow, Ian. So the bill comes due.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna
Bill
be.
comes due. What
Always.
MCU movie?
I'll stop it. So I quoted it.
Thank you, Brandon Jones.
But yeah, we
Always
ended up
comes to
shooting that PlayStation 5 like last night instead of this morning. I was like, oh, thank goodness. Like it's like I still have reviews to work on, but it's essentially done.
We've yet to see the end of that arc, Huber. Whew.
Seriously, dude.
Does Chiwetel Ejiofor say that
He
somewhere too?
does.
In an MCU movie?
Yes.
If
Which
you,
one
yeah,
is
if you're curious
Doctor
if you're curious what we have yet to do
Oh,
in the
yeah.
MCU, we got yet to wrap up some Doctor Strange stuff, man.
Multiverse is gonna be nuts.
Woo, Sam Raimi. Cool. There's a shout out tier at Patreon. There are people at that tier. We got a new person this month. Woo! Somebody name that I definitely recognize, a name that I have said many times. Bumping up that pledge. Thank you so much to the shout out tier.
Boost it.
Boost
Ian,
it.
you're going first. I am going after Ian. Huber, you're going after me. And Blood, you are wrapping it up. Shout out
Caboose.
to Caleb Togi Crawford, L. Fanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, and Nick.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Shout out.
What do
Waiting on blood there.
No,
I thought I was wrapping it up.
No, dude, Huber, you're not. Yeah,
You
you're,
said-
you're just thinking about Turok, bro.
You said,
I said Ian
after
goes first.
me
I go
and
after
blood.
Ian. You go
Check
after
the
me,
tape.
and then Blood goes last. I for
I thought
sure
you said
Blood goes
I thought you
last.
said you're after me and blood.
Can't wait to check the tape.
Check
Luckily,
the tape.
we are recording this. Can't
Check
check it
it.
right now. Can't check it right now.
You could be 100% right.
I'll check it. Stay tuned if you're listening to this podcast for the
You're
winner.
probably right.
Of this,
Jones is probably right.
Of this dramatic event.
Redo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ian,
do it again.
me, Huber, Blood.
Okay.
Shout out.
Okay.
What did you say, Huber? Like, there's not someone at the shout out tier named like Gobblegoo. What did you say? Like you shouted something out. I want to make very clear who is at this tier. It is Caleb Togi Crawford, L. Fanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, and Nick.
Shout
Shout
out.
out.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Oh yeah.
That's how when Huber went. I was like, no, Huber, you're last. I was like, wait a minute.
Shout outs. Tricky sometimes. Next gen coverage.
They're tough.
Piece of cake. Huber,
We
you were
win.
wasn't.
We
Hardly.
win.
Huber, you were on that podcast last week. You did not give the winning bet. Damiani was, which means Ian is going to pick up the slack and wrap up this
Nice.
podcast. You get to promote any Easy Allies
Take it
video
away.
you'd like to promote. You get the final word on anything you disagreed with, want to reiterate, or just popped in your head, and you get to sign off with your trademark sign off. Do it.
Well, we have so many new videos. The launch, all of our next gen launch coverage is really great.
You can package it.
Yeah, we'll package all our next gen launch coverage together. Also, I had a fun. This is a tease, but how do I turn you on? There we go. Check this out. Damn it! It should work.
Fortunately, this is going to
It's
work
not
out for
working.
audio listeners.
It's not working.
You're going to have to wait a little bit. Oh, it might not work out.
Whatever.
Yep.
I was gonna tease my easy update
It's your
episode.
end
It's
to the
pretty
podcast.
great.
I mean, however you want.
But since I pitched two things, I guess that has to count as my final word. Good night and good game. There it goes.
Ian, you're going first. I am going after Ian. Huber, you're going after me. And Blood, you are wrapping it up.
Well, oh, Turok.